Some time ago, I found a T-shirt with the catchphrase "Discipline is freedom." I was blown over by it, and I bought it immediately, and I wear it as much as I can. And obviously, my folks make fun of me for wearing it very, very frequently, right? And I can understand. And it's not because I wear the same T-shirt again and again, right? That's what I do. Even though I have a lot of them, I wear the same three or four over and over again. So it's more about the catchphrase itself. And I myself would have laughed at that statement a few years ago, because typically in the way we are conditioned to believe, right, freedom and discipline are two incompatible terms, pretty much the opposite of each other, right, at least on the surface of it. But that's a myth, and I thought I'll make a quick audio note to demystify that and share my views at least on this with all of you. So let's take the two words, right. When we talk about freedom first, we typically can define it as being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, at any pace I want, without having to conform to any standards or follow any rules, or having to repeat the same thing over again in a specific pattern. Right? That's what freedom is. I basically have the flexibility to wake up and choose what I want to do. That's how we understand it, right? And then when we come to discipline, we always talk about doing the same thing over and over again, being religious about something, being dedicated, being focused, being attentive, right? And falling into a certain pattern in life, overcoming boredom or ignoring boredom and still going ahead and doing things. So that's typically what we associate discipline with. And so purely by definition, these two seem opposite. And whenever we talk about discipline, and when I ask people, right, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to discipline? People say, oh, I remember my parents, or I remember my teachers saying, specifically teachers for an example, right? Children, don't talk to each other. You have to be disciplined kids. Children, finish your homework on time. You have to be disciplined children. And we always associate discipline with following certain conventions, protocols, being a good boy, good girl in school, right? Not talking to the person right next to you for 5 days a week, for 7 hours a day is what makes me disciplined. But naturally, we enjoy connecting with people. So we look at discipline as something that constrains us from following our heart, right? But that's just on the surface. That's what we are conditioned to believe. And then what happens is, when later in life we want to do things that we really want to do, this particular mindset about discipline prevents us from doing it. Right? And I'll illustrate how discipline is actually freedom with an experience sharing. Let's say when I work with people who face challenges sustaining behaviors, right? So they start doing something and then they are not able to continue it because there is some lack of motivation or inability to overcome resistance or overcome boredom, whatever, right? I don't immediately go on and say, you know what, let's say, take an example. Let's say there is a friend of mine who wants to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and go for a walk for an hour. Right? But he tried it for a few weeks and then gave up because somehow he was never able to bring himself to wake up at 5 o'clock. So I immediately don't say, you know what do you do these days when you wake up? Oh, I have a cup of coffee. So while you're sipping your coffee, or the moment you're done with your coffee, make it a habit to walk up and pick up a pair of socks. The moment you have a pair of socks, you will feel like wearing them. Right? Always the moment you wear a pair of socks, make it a habit to go and wear your shoes. The moment you wear your shoes, you can actually go out and walk. Yeah, that's fine. That is what we call as habit stacking, right? Adding a new habit on top of something that we really don't mind doing. But if I say that, the problem is, it's not a question of not knowing which habit to follow after what, or what activity to do after the previous one. It's a question of lack of motivation, or they're not able to connect why they want to do something, but they still want to do it. Right? Or why they don't want to do something or don't feel like doing something, but they still want to do it. This conflict is what we don't understand. So instead of giving them behavioral change tips, I ask this person, okay, why is it important for you to wake up at 5 o'clock every day? Yeah, that's when I'll get an hour to walk, right? Okay, why do you want to walk for an hour every day? What's the big deal about it? Because it allows me to be healthy, it allows me to be fit. Fine, what's the big deal about being healthy and fit, right? What value does it add to your life? At this point, they look at me like, you know what, are you an idiot of some sort? Isn't it natural for us to want to be healthy? We all want to be healthy. Yeah, fine. We all want to be healthy, but why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to walk? And why do you want to wake up at 5 a.m.? Right? They say it's important for me to be healthy because I value good health, right? And let's say I used to really enjoy going on hikes with my group of friends. And we used to go out every other weekend. We used to go on these difficult trails. These days, I'm not so fit, so I don't accompany them all the time. So I really miss the connectedness with nature, and I really miss connection with my friends. So I asked them, why? I mean, do you really value these? Or sometimes people themselves volunteer this information, right? I really value connecting with my friends, but I'm not able to do it because I'm not fit. So then we trace it backwards. Okay, so you value connectedness, and you say when you're yourself, when you're connected with your friends, or you're connected with nature, or you're feeling healthy, you feel like you're yourself, right? Yeah, I do that. It also helps me to spend a lot more time with my children and play with them with a lot of energy. Okay, does it matter to you? Obviously, I value my family connection. I value showing all my love and affection for my children. Wonderful. So you value something, and does being healthy allow you to live those values? Yes. Does walking every day allow you to be healthy? Yes. Does waking up at 5 o'clock allow you to walk every day? Yes. And so, does waking up at 5 o'clock every day to walk actually help you live a valued life or express your valued behavior in the most authentic fashion? Yes, it helps me to be myself. Typically, it comes to that. And then I say, in which case, now that you have made the connection, do you realize that you're not doing some kind of a routine that doesn't mean anything to you, but actually something that allows you to be yourself instead of being someone else? Then they have that aha moment. Right? They say, yeah, now I can make that connection. So waking up at 5 is no longer a chore or an ordeal that I have to go through, because it allows me to be myself. It allows me to be the closest to who I am very authentically deep down. And then we see that when this happens, people are able to sustain. Okay. And what can be a greater expression of freedom than being able to live true to oneself? Right? Freedom is all about being able to do what I want, whenever I want, however I want, and most importantly, by being myself. Right? And when people make this connection, almost always they never ever stop doing things that they really value. And at that moment, the kind of freedom that they experience in being themselves and doing whatever they want true to their own identity, they don't look at discipline as an impediment to freedom or as a restricting factor or a constraining factor, but discipline is something that facilitates or enables them to feel free. And so discipline is freedom. I just wanted to share this view of mine with you again, and thank you very much. I hope it was useful to you. Thank you.